Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the CraftyLittleRat podcast. My name is Hannah. I'm also known as CraftyLittleRat on Ravelry and Instagram, and you can find me at CraftyLittleRat.blogspot.com. It's been 3 weeks actually since I last recorded, and I just wanted to sort of come in and say hello and show you off my last little bits before I went to Wonderwall next weekend. So I'm very, very excited about that. And hopefully I will get some pictures and stuff, try and put some pictures and stuff in for you guys while I'm there. So let's get started. I'm trying to make my episodes a little bit shorter. I'm not entirely sure how well this will work because obviously I have got a lot of stuff to show you and I don't want to sort of run through things. This one might be a long one, the next one might be a long one because of Wonderwall, but then after that I'm going to try and get down to the 30-minute sort of mark. So without further ado, this is my second attempt at recording this podcast because my first attempt, I went back to play the audio after I'd finished and my mouth was moving, but the sound was like this, and then it was like completely and utterly out of joint. So anyway, still working on that. I started a new project since I last talked to you guys, and it is an African flower blanket. So these are the African flower hexagons that I'm going to be using. The yarn is Starcraft Special DK, and I am using the limited edition colour packs. So last year they had a competition in order to design a new colour. They shortlisted 10. So the colours that they shortlisted was Duck Egg, which is actually the outside of this one, Grass, Pistachio, Mustard, which is the inside of this one, Cypress, Lobelia, Kelly Green, Fuchsia, Boysenberry, Empire, and at the same time they released Tomato, which wasn't part of the colour pack. So those are the colours that I'm going to be using. So this is what they're going to look like. I've been making motifs as I go, and I've been trying to do an entire ball. So these are 50-gram balls. They're half the size of the full balls. So those are the mustard ones. And then this is the lobelia. If I hold that there so that it doesn't melt in with my shirt, the lobelia as well. And I've completed all of the colours in lobelia and in mustard. I'm getting 14 motifs to the ball, and so all of the balls are 50 grams. I've got extra in the duck egg obviously for the edging. This is I brought a few of them up with me. I did show this pack off when I bought it because it was special edition. All of these colours are now available. All of these colours are now available as full 100-gram balls, which is fantastic, but I don't think I will actually need that much. This is the Tomato, which was a new purchase yesterday as well, just to make it rounded out, because if I get 14 for each one, and then I've got 10 colours for the middle, so I'll have 140 hexagons. So that's the idea with that one anyway. For those, I'm using a 5mm hook, which is slightly bigger than possibly recommended. 4mm is what's recommended on the pattern, or at least that's what's recommended as a knitting needle. They don't have a crochet hook recommended size, but 5 is working nicely for me. It's got a nice sort of a drape. It's not stiff and firm. Given this is a blanket for an adult, and holes, as in gaps within the motifs, aren't an issue, it's fine. Yeah, that's that. Nice and quick, 4 minutes. So the second thing I'm working on is a pair of socks. It's in my Knit Spin quilt bag, which has my lizards on it. So that was from a lady in Canada, and they're available online. KSQ Knit Spin Quilt is her Etsy shop. These were for charity. So I got a lizard one, and I also got an exploding TARDIS one. I've somehow managed to get my ball of yarn tangled up within my project, but these are the Swirl E socks, and they are by Susie White. The needles I'm using when I eventually get there are 2.25mm Knit Pro Zings. They're metal needles, aluminium, and the shaft of the needle is a different colour to the tip. Is a different colour in each one. So 2.25s are this sort of, it looks yellow on here, but they are in fact orange, and the tips are silver. So a different size needle will be a different colour. So 3s are different colours to those. So you can easily see what size you're working on by what the colour is I think the aim. This is the first sock. I've turned the heel. I did a traditional heel flap and a gusset, and I did a slip stitch heel. I tried doing the slip stitches just on the purl stitches, on the purl rows this time, rather than, you know, slip, knit and purl all the way across. I did knit all the way across and slipped on the purls. That's my gusset. My gusset decreases, and I'm on the foot. I can't think that I have much further to go on the foot, to be honest. Maybe another repeat. So I'm hoping to get that done. I might go and knit the toe this afternoon before we go out. So yeah, it's nice. The yarn for this one is Starcraft Avonmore, and the colourway is 1618 green grey, and it is in it's 75% wool, 25% nylon, and I just dropped the ball on the floor, so you'll have to trust me. I caked it up anyway. You can't see the green particularly well today, which is a little bit disappointing, but it is, trust me, it's a medium grey, dark grey, and a light grey, and then a colour stripe. So yeah, I've knitted a pair of socks in this yarn before, in the pink grey colourway, and they're quite nice. They're still holding up quite well, even though they were one of the first sort of pairs I knit. So yeah, so that's that. Okay, right, next segment, FO Frenzy. So this is now underneath a mountain of yarn that I showed you guys in the earlier podcast, but that didn't work. So you'll have to excuse anything that falls on the floor that I'll have to go and pick up. So I started this and finished this since the last time I talked to you. So it's a very big shawl. It's a blanket shawl, I think, more really than anything else. The pattern is called Phoenix, and it is by an Irish designer who is called Aibhe. That is Aoibhe, and then the surname is Ni. So if you're searching for this on Ravelry, search for Phoenix 11, or if you go to my project page, you can go click directly in and go through that. The yarn is Easy Knits Twinkle in Zora. I used 1.66 gains, or 249 grams. So this is a really interesting shawl. It's worked in Tunisian, a combination of Tunisian crochet and ordinary crochet, and the cable pattern, she says, I'm sorry if I knocked. The cable pattern is done with a range of sort of decreases and yarn overs, which is really, really clever. You know, it looks incredibly complicated, but once you get into the rhythm of doing it, it's not. Sorry, I'm still really tired. The ruffle edge is fantastic and is worked with sort of a combination of short rows and in Tunisian simple stitch as well. Her patterns are incredibly clever, and I think they're fantastic. I think they are suitable. She does have a recommended list follow through, so I think PAX is one of the first ones that she recommends you do. Yeah, see what I mean? It's a very big shawl. I think PAX is one of the first ones she recommends you do. Maybe, I don't know, but if you go on her Ravelry group, there is a list of the recommended ways people advise on the best ways to sort of go through her crochet patterns. Phoenix is supposed to be a good secondary pattern. I did it as my first, and I was fine, but obviously your mileage may vary. I figure that it's one of those ones I knew when I bought the yarn for it. It was just a case of not getting around to it, actually. That meant I hadn't done it, but I knew that it may be one that I would have to sort of start. Don't think there's any harm in starting something and then realising it's too much for you, putting it to one side and coming back to it later. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done that with plenty of patterns before. So I bought the yarn, and I knew that if not, the yarn would always come in useful for something else, but I do like it. It's a 5mm hook. I couldn't remember whether I've said. So yeah, I really enjoyed making that, actually, and that was super quick for me. I did that in 3 weeks, just under, not even 3 weeks, 17 days. My second shawl finish, I know, was the Sunny Days Shawlette, which is by Carle Denning. This is in Rosie's Moment Superwash hand painted merino, and the colourway is a splash of colour. This is absolutely gorgeous. This skein completely and utterly stopped me in my tracks when I saw it last year at Wonderwall. So this is my last of my Wonderwall based projects. You'll have to excuse it. It has been worn, so the points aren't sitting as nicely as they would do when they were first blocked. I did the large of the two sizes, but if you'll notice, I have 4 of the reverse stockinette sections. What I did was I knit, and I was so excited to be getting to doing something else rather than the standard increases and rather than the standard stockinette section. I started on the bits, the prep bits for the points, and then when I finally got there, I was like, hang on, no, I'm making the large size, and I still had plenty of yarn left over. So what I did was I just repeated those sections to increase until I had enough in the way of the body stitches to follow the pattern for the edging for the larger size. So yeah, I really like this. This was all knit as one piece and knit from the top down. It's not the biggest shawl in the world. I would argue that it is definitely a shawlette, but it's nice to have. It's nice to have options, isn't it? Sometimes, and especially like on hotter days, as we're getting into summer, when you don't necessarily want to be sort of smothered by a blanket shawl, you can just throw that on, and it doesn't look out of place with sort of shorter sleeves. So yeah, it's definitely sort of an option. Okay, so my last and final FO frenzy for you guys, which I'm doing good. I'm coming up to sort of 12 minutes. I hope I've not been talking too fast. Is Braemore by Anna Fletcher, A-N-N-E-H Fletcher. And these I was working on last time. I used 2.25mm needles, and I used my Knit Pro Zings. And the yarn for these is Garn Studio Drops Delight Blue Green Blue Mix. I used 64 grams for these. So you see, it is a paid for pattern, but it's a ribbed sock. And the most interesting part of these, which you cannot see particularly on here, is the heel flap construction. So the heel construction, even, it's not a heel flap, but the heel makes a sort of a diamond shape, which was really, really interesting to do. I've done a few heels that have worked in a very similar fashion to this, but not one that gives you that sort of a shaping. So it's a very, I ended up with a very sort of a dense fabric, I must admit, with these. They're not floppy at all, but yeah, I ended up with a very sort of an interesting heel sort of a construction. So I can't say they were my favourite thing in the world to knit. I'm glad that they are done, and I like the socks. I haven't yet worn them because I've been waiting to show you guys. So I will wear them, hopefully, maybe today. Maybe I'll wear them tonight. They might be a bit warm though. They're very woolly socks. Okay, so that was my last Ooh Shiny. That was my last FO Frenzy even. On to Ooh Shiny. No inner spin this week. I haven't had... I've lost my spinning mojo a bit, I think. Mainly because winter camp didn't allow spinning. So for the first 3 months of the year, it seemed pointless. Well, February was away anyway, but after that, it seemed sort of pointless to spin in January or in March because I wasn't going to get points for it. Whereas knitting, I was going to get points. And as we all know, points mean prizes, right? So those socks, the Braemore socks, it's the thing I really liked about winter camp quickly was that it pushed me out of my comfort zone. The Braemore socks were not on my... they weren't on my hit list. They weren't in my mind. I didn't know the pattern existed until they became a pattern from a featured designer in winter camp, so you got extra points for that. I don't know whether I would have done it with that yarn, but I got extra points for having green in the yarn. And then I will always have a pair of socks on the go, so that wasn't necessarily an issue. But things like in the first month when I knit that hat, I don't knit a huge amount of hats, even though I did end up knitting 2 in January. Merrick wouldn't have been a hat that I would necessarily have knitted, but because it was a hat, I got bonus points for it being a hat. I got bonus points for it being by a featured designer, and I also got bonus points for it being in blue. So, excuse me, I'm so sorry. So yeah, so that was, you know, it pushed me out of my comfort zone a bit, which I quite liked. So on to Shiny, which is my stash acquisitions. Now, because of the way I've piled things up, I'm going to have to go in reverse order a bit. So, reverse order quite a lot. And she says, okay, so yesterday I went to my local yarn shop and I taught a lesson in Tunisian crochet. I got paid for it, so I spent my money in the yarn shop. So I bought a skein of this, which is the West Yorkshire Spinners. The lighting is a bit odd at the moment. I apologise. West Yorkshire Spinners, and it's 4-ply, 400 metres, 437 yards, 75% wool, 25% nylon. The colourway for this one is in the wood pigeon colourway. So it's sort of lilacs and browns, and that's really good actually. There, even though I am now a yarn head, that is, you know, that's pretty accurate actually. So I bought a skein of that, which will of course become socks, like all of my West Yorkshire Spinners will become socks. And I also bought the skein of the tomato. So the time before I went, which I have podcasted since, but I didn't tell you about this because I had so much Canada stuff to run through. They had a dyeing workshop on, and the lady who ran the dyeing workshop, Rosie, is a student, a textile student, and she dyed up a few skeins just for the shop. So I picked up this, which is rainbow, because you know me, rainbow is my favourite colour. So it's sort of pinks and goes into sort of orange, yellow, green, blue. I would have liked to have had a bit more yellow in there actually, but blues, sort of purples, sort of a brown, and then back into the pink. So yeah, I really like that actually. It looks like a giant yarn smile. So I really liked that. I went downstairs and had a look and saw it and was like, oh, I have to have it. So I brought that one home. It wasn't even actually dry when I brought it home. It was still slightly wet. So I really like that. That will again become a pair of socks. I'll make sure, because it's such bright colours, I'll make sure to set it with a vinegar bath before I, after I've knitted it, before I wash it in the machine. So that's that. I came, also while I was there that time round, I got this, which is Starcraft Special Effects. It's not listed yet on Ravelry, which is odd because it's not exactly the same as the special, because although it's still 100% premium acrylic, it is 274 meters or 299 yards. So it's slightly less yardage than the actual special. This one is 1802 Foxtrot. So it's blues and browns, and it knits up into a Fair Isle pattern. This will be a pair of house socks for wreaths. They're just going to be plain old tube socks. So I think I'll get started on those at some point. May even wind that and take those with me to Wonderwall, because it's going to be one project. It's going to be a very simple project. Once I've done the increases for the toes, I'm just knitting until I've used 50 grams of yarn. Also, while I was there, they had a special offer on, and I cannot, where's the third one of those? You see, this is the problem. Oh, there it is. I've recorded once and stuff's in a pile. So they had a special offer on for Senses Lace, which is, again, a Starcraft yarn. I do like Starcraft yarns. So this is an 80% acrylic, 20% mohair blend. It is a lace weight, though. I would argue it's a heavy lace weight. They say a 3.5mm needle, which you would probably need because of the fluff, the puff from the mohair. I would be inclined even to swatch it on a 4. Which I might do, well, when I get round to it, which I will do. And I think this is going to grow up to be a triangular scarf, or a sort of a colour affection style scarf, maybe, something with 3 colours, because I want to use them all together. The colourways are 2482 Hawthorn, 2472 Lavender, and then 2475 Plum. So those 3 play really nice together, and I want to do something with those. I am going to design a Tunisian shawl, so I don't know whether maybe to make one in the yarn I'm going to make it in, which is going to be West Yorkshire Spinners, but in a solid, and then maybe make a second one potentially in the thing. I only have a 5mm hook, but I may pick up a 4mm hook at the 4mm Tunisian hook at Wonderwool, which wouldn't be a problem, would it? Never would be a problem. The last thing I bought that came while I was that came recently was this. It's a tote bag, and there was yarn as well. This is Daughter of a Shepherd, which is Rachel Atkinson, who is my life in knitwear. She is a knitwear editor, so she edits people's patterns before they come out onto the market. Her dad has a flock of Hebridean sheep, and I want to say that they're used for grazing National Trust properties, so they're effectively woolly lawnmowers. But very recently he found that he wasn't getting, sort of not last year, the year before, he got a stupid amount back from the wool board, pittance back from the wool board, when it cost him obviously a lot more to shear his sheep. Shearing sheep is a thing that you have to do. Can't not do that. That is, it's mandatory, because it's a welfare issue if you don't. With the resurgence of wool generally, but with the whole focus of sort of knit British, knit local, things like that, Rachel wondered whether there was going to be a market for her yarn, to make a yarn out of it. So she did. So this is the Daughter of a Shepherd. This is a limited edition yarn, because this is 100% Hebridean sheep. So this was the clip from 23rd of July 2015. And the shepherd is John Atkinson from Escrick Park Estate. So this is a DK weight, scoured and spun in the UK, and it was spun by John Arbon. 233 metres for 100 grams, or 255 yards to 3.5 ounces, whichever way you go. Used between a 3.5 and a 4.5mm needle, or a US 4 to 7 needle or hook. Cool, hand wash only. So this smells incredibly sheepy. It is, it's wonderful. I love the smell. Reese hates the smell, but I love the smell. I keep wandering around. When it arrived on Friday, I keep wandering around, just going and sort of breathing it in. This is going to be a hat for me. I wasn't sure whether I was going to buy any. She had a stock at Edinburgh, and she limited people to 2 skeins, and then she had some left for her online shop, and then she limited people to 2 skeins. I only wanted the one, but I kept clock watching, and I knew that the update was going on at 8 p.m, and I thought, if I'm not there and I don't get one, I'm going to be really sad. So I took a little bit of money out of my Wonderwool funds, which isn't really going to affect me, and I did buy. I bought one of these, and it's going to make the most wonderful sort of hat, I think. I'm not entirely sure whether I would want something too close to the skin. It's not as scratchy as I thought it was going to be. I thought Hebridean was harsher than this, but it is the most wonderful brown. It's showing as sort of a black here, but it is the most wonderful sort of a dark brown, chocolatey black. It's beautiful. So, now we move on to Canada. So, okay, where am I going to go first? Michael's. Michael's is a big box craft store over there in America and in Canada. And they do sell a lot of acrylic, but they also sell some sock yarns that we don't get access to over here. So I went and I bought lots of Patons Kroy. This is the colourway Grey Brown Marl, which I've seen, and you've probably seen if you watch podcasts. Kroy is apparently supposed to wear like iron, so I'm really looking forward to trying it out and seeing what the socks made from this, how they do. It's considered it's very much in a way like their Opal. What Opal and Reggie is to us in the UK and Europe, Kroy is, it's the standard sort of a sock yarn. So these are 50-gram balls. They're 1.75 ounces. Where does it say? Does it say the makeup of them? Yes, 75% washable wool, 25% nylon. So approximately 166 yards. So yeah, so it's not the hugest balls actually, is it really? So 152 meters, so that's 300 meters, 304 meters per 100 grams. So I think you're going to have to be careful, and I'm going to have to bear in mind I might do the first pair from the toe upwards, just to make sure that I get so that I have enough to do a pair of socks in these. or do some maths. Maths is fantastic. I might do some maths. So that was that one. The other ubiquitous one is the blue stripe rag, which is the one that is on so many sort of podcasts. I really like these colours. They just, yeah, and the way it knits up in stripes. Oh, having seen several people make projects in these lately, especially if you watch American bloggers, they'll often do it. Knit One Heart 2, they've made some before in that colour, and I love it. So I also picked up, we went back twice. I bought 2 skeins and then I went back twice I went back another time for some more with Reese. So this is the Kroy. We went to dinner actually. We found a really nice place for dinner. I think we went to Red Robin that day as well. But this is the, again, Patons Kroy Mulberry Stripes, this one. So that's purples and sort of dark purples and pinks, which is again something just a little bit different. And then the last one I bought, the other one fell on the floor when I recorded earlier, so I've only got one to show you. But it's this one, which is really nice and bright, and that's called Mexicana Stripes. So yeah, I really liked these. So, and I don't think they were too expensive. They were sort of, similar price to Opal or Kroy. As I say, this is going to be really sort of disjointed because I just found one that I didn't mention when we were sort of there. We came back, we went to Hobbycraft. I bought this because it was on a special sort of an offer. I am not going to show you the label because the label is wrong, but it is Reggie. That was bought in the UK at Hobbycraft. I got 2 balls. I can only find one to show you again. So, yeah. Actually, this is probably going to be half an hour. I do feel like I have ran through things. I am sorry if you feel like I've been talking pretty fast. So when we went to America, we went to... I don't know whether quickly I can just... No, that's not going to show. When we went to America, we went to Seattle. And in Seattle, when we went to Canada, we popped down into America to go to Seattle for a few days. We sort of honeymooned there. We had a couple of days after our wedding where me and Reese just went down and we went to Seattle, which was lovely. And we did sort of really touristy things like the Space Needle and Pike Place Markets. And there is a yarn shop in Pike Place Market. So I bought this, which is Abracadabra. So... I don't know whether you read that, but the yarn that changes purple when exposed to the sun. And it does a bit. I've only managed to get it through windows. It's UV though, so windows do tend to block out a lot of UV, don't they? That's why you don't get sunburnt through windows. So designed in Seattle, Washington. Made in Taiwan. Okay, we'll ignore that. But yeah, 35% superwash merino, 50% polypropylene and 15% nylon. So it is mostly an unnatural yarn. But it is 91 metres to 50 grams, so 100 yards to 50 grams. And they say to use a 3.75 millimetre needle, so I reckon it knit more or less 2 DK weight. So natural to purple. So my aim is I want to make a hat with this that's stripes. So I'm going to do 2 rounds or 4 rounds of normal white, 2 rounds of purple, normal, purple, normal, purple, normal, purple. And then in ordinary light, it will be a white hat inside. And then as soon as you step into the sun, it'll be white and purple. I don't know. It was like $6, I think. It wasn't hugely expensive. There's no... Oh no, sorry, $14.95. So it was, yeah, $15. So it was like $7.50. No, it was more than that because US dollars weren't. But anyway, I was on holiday. Why not? While I was there as well, I bought a Gleaner, which I'd not seen over here before, but heard a lot about on podcasts. I bought the Travel Gleaner. So it comes in a little bag. And then on the back of it, you've got this, which is the lint brush. And then on the bottom, you have a sort of a... It's not a blade because it's not sharp. You can touch it, but it sort of feels a bit like sort of a sandpaper style thing. So it's obviously it's quite nice to sort of hold, and then if you have a piece of knitwear, which I don't actually have on hand, but if you had a piece of knitwear, you just, and that gets rid of pills, and then you can just brush it down with a lint brush. So on the back of it, there's a little hatch. So you just lift the little clasp on the back, and that opens up the container. So closed, open. So in the top, you've got instructions of how to use it. Yeah, I was going to say there's nothing underneath those. You've got instructions on how to use it and which blades to use. And then there's 2 more blades that come with the pack. They fit into those little channels, which you can't see in there. So this one is the finest, and then this one is the coarsest, with the medium one being on the bottom at the moment. So from the bottom, that just lifts out, and then you pop the new one on. She says, have you ever noticed how hard it is to do things backwards? So yeah, you just pop the new one in, and then the other blade goes back into the middle, or the other edge goes back into the middle for sort of storage. So that was pretty cool. I'd heard them talked about, but they hadn't sort of made it over to the UK yet. So and I like that. I like that that's small enough to go in a bag, and then just lob it in with your clothes. So I probably will take this to Wonderwall with me in case we have a pill emergency. I don't know what I'm going to wear, but you know, you never know, I might do. I do have knitwear with me actually, but it's not got pills on it, so there's no point in trying it, really, is there? Okay, so while we were there as well, the other yarn I bought was from Knitted Wit. So they are a Seattle local dyer. This colourway is called Seattle Skies. That's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So again, these will be socks. 4 ounces, which is just over 100 grams, 113, I think. 420 yards. So sort of a standard. It's a nice plump sock yarn when you look at it, which is lovely. So I really like that. I like that enough to sort of purchase it. And then I was going to try and get something from a different designer, a different dyer. But then I saw this, and it is beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful skeins of yarn I've ever seen, I think, in my life. If I just sort of the bottom sort of untangled, it's just a total riot of colour, and it's just, it's fantastic. The colourway for this one is called Supernova, which is 100% accurate, obviously. Again, I'm going to have to just re-ball this skein, but yeah, can you see how it's just it's just the most beautiful sort of riot of complete and utter riot of colour, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's got sort of every single colour I think in the world in there. It's sort of like a broken rainbow in a way, I think. Which is unusual for me actually with this one, because it's very sort of heavy on the pinks, and that's not my normal wheelhouse at all. But I think, it's nice. It's good to see with a lot of things actually that my colourways are it's messy at the top, but never mind. My colourways are expanding. I've got a huge variety of colours here, whereas maybe last year I would have just had blues or greens or maybe the odd bit of purple. So 33 minutes. I'm not actually far off, and I apologise for having whizzed through stuff. If you have, the last thing I bought, which I've just found on the table when we went to Michael's, was this, which is a yardage counter. So the idea being that you run your yarn through the hole in the hole in this side. Secure counter to table by pressing so that the suction cups adhere to the table. With the lever down, insert the yarn and then raise the lever. Press the yardage counter to reset it to 0. Read the numbers right to left. Number records in yards. Pull yarn in the direction shown, so from the top to the bottom. So mainly for me, this was wondering whether I can double check my spinning yardage on things. Who knows? It was $14, so it was £7 because it was a direct one-to-one conversion. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, why not at the end of the day. So yeah, that's it really. That is it. Wonderwall is next weekend, so looking forward to that a lot. We stay in a caravan. We have done, this will be our third year in the van. Whoops. I go with two friends from Knitting. Well, one I taught to crochet, but she also happens to know somebody. Sorry, something fell off there, and I'm not sure what it was. Oh well, it can't be that important, can it? Just checking. I haven't got anything else. Nope, that's it. So one of them I taught to crochet, and the other one I know from Knit and Natter in Gloucester from the Guildhall, and then they know each other. So it's really, really nice to go back and to sort of see them again. I don't get to see Angie very often, sort of twice, maybe 2-3 times a year. If we're lucky, we Ravelry conversation when we can remember things. You know, we're both sort of quite busy people, and she does watch this podcast. But yeah, it's really nice to go and sort of catch up with everybody. And Wonderwall is lovely. It's one of my favourite festivals. I haven't been to too many, but I much prefer over Ali Pali in London, which I know is a very sort of a personal taste. I was having a good discussion with somebody yesterday who said that they really liked that one. That was one of their favourite ones to go to, whereas Ali Pali just generally left me fairly cold. I don't know why. I do know why. Lack of indie dyers. That's pretty much it for me. She's very much, she does like the bigger name brands, and she does like the accessories and the needles and stuff, which there isn't a huge amount of at Wonderwall. So I can understand. And it's horses for courses, isn't it, really? Everybody has their own tastes, which is fine. I liked Bristol. I really like Bristol. One day I hope to try Edinburgh. That would be fantastic. But I know it is so close to Wonderwall. Yarndale I've not been to, but I would also like to try that. But I keep trying to tell Reese. That again, though, is quite close to Bristol. It's sort of in the autumn of the yarn festivals. This seems to be either a spring thing or an autumn thing. So, yeah. But I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a quite good budget this year, actually. I mean, you know, nobody wants to hear about my finances. It's, you know, it's not really something to go into on the internet, is it? But, you know, we've had quite a good sort of a year with regards to, we've finally got some pay that we've been owed for a long time. So a little bit of that has come into my Wonderwall fund. But when you're owed money for when you're owed back pay for 2 years, you're going to get a reasonable chunk. So even with just servicing, you know, even just putting a little bit in the Wonderwall fund, it's given me, you know, there was sort of £100 from there I kept back and stuff. So, I mean, you know, I've got more money than I've had in years, really, to go, and I don't have to spend it all. I know I don't have to spend it all. So, but it'd be nice to sort of go around and go, yes, I can if I want to. Maybe I might get a loom. I keep thinking about looms a lot. So, I might see if there's places I can go and have a little play with one and see whether it is actually going to be something that I like to do, rather than spending the £150+ on a loom and then deciding it's not. But I'm really looking forward to more to the sort of the act of being with people that I like and doing awesome things. We're going to the flock gathering on a Saturday evening, which should be good. And then I think we're taking a leisurely drive back on the Sunday morning and going to and then I'll get the train back from Cheltenham. I was going to drive this year, but it's a pain because Reese needs the car. We're a one-car family, you see, and it's a problem. But we don't, 99.9% of the time, we don't actually need a secondary car because we work in the same place. We, you know, go to the same place. If I need the car for the day, Reese can often make do, but a weekend is a long thing. So, yeah. So I haven't really got a lot else to tell you. I know it's been 3 weeks, but stuff's been really busy, so I'm hoping I'll record again in 2 weeks, which is a bank holiday, so there's a pretty good chance of that. We've got to get the craft room in here sorted, but hopefully I'll be able to record sort of either amidst the mess or before the mess sort of starts. So we'll see. Tonight we're going to go see Bellahead in Cardiff, so I really should start going and getting ready for that. It's only 12:30, but I think we're going to go get some food first, so be nice to just go and spend a bit of time with Reese as well. So thank you all ever so much for watching. Thank you if you've come back. Hello if you're a new viewer. As I say, I know that this isn't a horrendously long podcast at 40 minutes, but I'm going to try and keep them down. And when I don't have such a huge amount of acquisitions to show, it should always be sort of 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. So I've not done too badly today with only 40 minutes, but, you know, thank you anyway for watching. I hope you have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.